Without further ado, we go to the bat phone, and we got Dan Miller, the voice of the Lions, and of course, the sports director of Fox 2 here in Detroit, our good friend Dan Miller. Dan, welcome to the show. Thanks again, my friend.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, Danny.
We're hanging in there.
Hey, we heard Dan Campbell earlier today saying he's playing his guys. If they're healthy, we're playing them. Nick Mullins, I heard, is starting for the Vikings. We saw him against us just a couple of weeks ago. The guy can throw. He could also throw interceptions, but I think that's their best chance to win. It looks like Jamison Williams not practicing today. Bruce Irvin let go. Isaiah Buggs yesterday. Dan, fill us in with the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, I think the Nick Mullins thing isn't surprising. I just don't think you go back to Jaron Allen again after he got pulled last week and, just give him some time. Let him have the offseason to figure it out. Nick Mullins has moved the ball for this team. Against Cincinnati, he put up some points. Against the Lions, he put up some points. So, yeah, he's a high-wire act. There's no doubt about that, but I would think that was the way Minnesota was going to go, and in the end, that is the way that they go. As far as the Lions are concerned, I think there's some things to keep an eye on here. Number one, they want to get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back in this defense. And with the other guys that have emerged on this defense, like Melifonwu, and trying to figure out how you're going to align these guys and keep Branch on the field as well, I think they probably need some snaps to figure things out, and you don't want to be figuring some things out in the first round of the playoffs. So I think watching how Aaron Glenn works in packages with these guys and who's on the field and who's off is going to be key, because this is their final dress rehearsal, if you will, before the playoffs. So I think that's something to keep an eye on there. And then overall, does that mean Dan Campbell's going to play these guys the whole game? Does that mean he's going to play them half the game? We don't know. We'll have to see. But I do think there's some purpose in some of that, mainly with the defense, to try to get these guys in a position where they're ready to go. It's improbable, obviously, that they get all the way up to number 2 with both Dallas and Philadelphia having to lose. But I also think he doesn't want to lose the game at 4 o'clock or 1 o'clock and see that happen in the 4 o'clock window. So I think it's still fluid. We'll see what they do when the game rolls around on Sunday.
Also, Dan, the Rams have decided to go with Carson Wentz this weekend. They will play him against the Niners. Niners already locked up the number 1. If the Bears lose to the Packers, if the Packers beat the Bears, the Lions can sit there and watch that 4 o'clock game unfold. If the Rams lose that game somehow, I think the Pack comes to town.
That is correct. If the Packers win and the Rams lose, Green Bay would move up to the number 6 seed, and the Rams would fall to number 7 seed. So it is still fluid in terms of which team the Lions will play, and I don't think that's improbable at all. First of all, I think Green Bay's going to have a battle on their hands against the Bears. Bears are playing good football right now.
They are.
And then you got a battle of the backups between the Rams and San Francisco. So, I mean, I don't have any idea who you would pick in that game, because I would have to imagine if Stafford's not playing, they're going to keep out a bunch of their frontline guys, and San Francisco is going to do the same thing. So it's kind of like some of these bowl games we had where everybody's opted out, and you're trying to figure out how good these teams actually are.
See, I don't think the Lions should opt out this weekend. I think when no matter how small the chances are, if that number 2 seed is dangled in front of you, press it all the way, force these other teams to win, and because that's the way Dan Campbell operates. That's the way the Lions' mentality needs to be. We're in it right up to the end, and until you kick us out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I wouldn't arrest people.
I agree. That is the way that he's wired. And I think, like I said, defensively, I think this is a smart thing to play your guys. And I think that they need to figure out, what's this thing going to look like? You running 3 safeties? Are you taking somebody off the field that's been playing in that secondary? I don't know, do any of these guys slot over to the cornerback 2 position, which is really where they're kind of feeling the pinch right now. But, I agree with you. And I think there's something else that Dan Campbell has talked about, and that is he wants to have this team confident and playing well going into the postseason. And I think that goes to your point, that's about playing, about winning, and about playing the best that you can, so that you are, feeling good about things as you hit Monday morning of playoff week, and whoever you end up playing that following week.
So, Dan, let me get this straight. I love these scenarios. If the Lions win, if they beat the Vikings, and it'll be a 1-score game, of course. Let's say Green Bay beats the Bears. Let's say let's forget the Rams. Let's say San Francisco What am I just trying to think here?
He's confused.
No,
It's
what
okay.
if Washington
It's
wins?
Maz. Here it is. If Green
If we
Bay
get
loses,
to 2.
can we get? Yes, you can get to 2. You can get to 2, but the Lions have to win, and then both Dallas and Philadelphia have to lose for the Lions to
Right.
get to 2.
So we'd get the Packers anyway?
So what are you talking about, staying at 3 or going to 2?
2.
Going to 2 is someone else.
If you go to 2, then you get the 7 seed, which right now that looks like it depending upon what happens. As we sit here right now, it's Green Bay and the Rams.
So either way, we're getting them.
It looks like it, but if one of those, if Green Bay loses, Green Bay's in the spot that is still fluid, and if
Seattle.
Green Bay loses, that could set off a number of situations.
Seattle would jump up into there then. Oh my God.
So
Just win. Just win, baby.
I'm pulling this up.
Yeah.
I'm pulling this up.
I think
now,
it's right.
you know.
If Green Bay loses and the Rams lose, I think Seattle, if they win, they sneak up to the 7.
Yeah, because in the NFC, you have the 6 teams that have clinched, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's what you're looking at. In the NFC, Niners, Cowboys, Lions, Eagles, Rams have all clinched. That leaves the Buccaneers and the Packers in the hunt. You got the Seahawks and Saints, Vikings on the bubble, who would need a lot more to happen. So Tampa Bay's in it by virtue of the fact that they're sitting there looking at the NFC North right now, NFC South right now.
Right.
They're leading the NFC South. They got Carolina, so chances are they're going to win that. So it's Green Bay losing could open the door for one of those other teams that's sitting there, Seattle, Saints, Vikings, who would need a lot to happen at 7 and 9.
Wow.
You know what?
That's
I
good.
like this conversation because normally the conversation is if the Lions can win 9 out of their last 10 games, they can sneak into the number 7 playoff spot.
Yeah,
This is different.
Terry, sadly, this conversation is normally if the Lions lose and the Saints and whomever win, the Lions could move up to number 4 in the draft.
Yes,
So
right,
it's, you know,
exactly.
that's normally what it is. Unfortunately, this is a lot better because you're talking about playoff possibilities, and you know, obviously going into Week 18 last year, we were talking about that as well. But yeah, this is a whole different world than where we've been before. But the simplest scenario is Packers Rams. If the Packers lose, then that sets off a different scenario if the Rams then lose as well. But right now, it looks more than anything like Green Bay or LA or the LA Rams.
You know, Big Dan, after the big 2-point conversion play, one or two things can happen to an NFL team. Sometimes teams say, you know what, we gave it our best shot. Woe is me. The NFL hates us. We're done. Or, and I think in this case, the Lions could be pissed off, full of spit and vinegar, and just become this unbearable team that can make a run in the playoffs in a conference where nobody wants to dominate. I think the Lions are going to be rough to knock out.
Yeah, and I think, Terry, if you look at their history under Dan Campbell, they don't stay down long. This team hasn't lost 2 games in a row since October 30th of last year. And I think that's a testament to Campbell, the way he sets the tone for this team, the way he gets them ready to play. And I think that goes to what you're saying, that they're a rebound type of team. They don't stay down for long. So I don't anticipate what happened in Dallas will do anything but galvanize this team. I don't think there will be any long-lasting effect. And believe me, I think Monday, when Dan Campbell came out, you know, just all full of spit and vinegar, I just think, you know what that is. When those coaches are up there talking, they're not just talking to us. They're talking to their team as well. And I think he was saying, look, I'm ready to go. I'm using that as fuel, high octane, all that stuff. I think he was speaking to his team. I'm sure they got the same speech, but that was just him reinforcing it. So there's no doubt in my mind this team is going to be fired up to play Sunday, and this team will be fired up to play in the first round of the playoffs. And I think you guys know just as well as I do what that building is going to be like this Sunday, and more so what it's going to be like in that first round playoff game. It is going to be something to behold because there's a lot of pent up aggression and emotion that people have. It's going to come pouring out when that playoff game kicks off.
Dan Miller joins us, the voice of the Lions, of course, sports director of Fox 2 here in Detroit. Dan, I was watching that game in Jersey, and I didn't get to hear yours and Lomas's call. What was going through your mind? First, I want to ask you this. Did you guys hear when Brad Allen said that Dan Skipper, number 70, was eligible. We didn't hear it on the TV.
I saw Skipper run over to the official, and we are hit and miss when it comes to the referee's microphone.
Right.
Unfortunately, our engineer was not top notch.
Got it.
So we were getting up and down when it came to whether or not we got the official potted up or potted down, and it felt like we got about half of the call after the penalty before we lost that microphone. So I'll be honest with you, we were a little bit lost in terms of what was going on after the penalty nullified the 2-point conversion. At first, I thought it was about Skipper. That didn't make any sense. And then all of a sudden, it's got to be about Decker because he's the one that ultimately touched the ball. I had seen Taylor Decker go over and stand in front of the official. I had seen Skipper go over. So we weren't sure exactly what had happened, and we were just trying to guess at that point. We didn't have the luxury and the resources that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman would have had, A, with an official standing there, and B, with a clear communication to them from the referee on the field. So I'll be honest with you, we were a little bit lost in the radio booth trying to figure it out at that point.
Well, here's the kicker. We didn't hear it on TV either. And you always hear it. I listened to the Dallas, someone put up the Dallas radio broadcast, and you heard it clear that Brad Allen said, number 70 is checked in, he's eligible. Now, Dan Campbell or someone on that Lions sidelines had to have heard that. What could they have done with no timeouts? Terry said maybe take a 5-yard penalty, delay it, because they were running an illegal play then, because this idiot said that Decker wasn't eligible.
Yeah, and I will tell you, TJ Lang was down on the sidelines and did not hear it. And one other thing that I would say about how much you can hear down there from Brad Allen is there were no Dallas players jumping up and down.
Yeah.
Their head coach was not jumping up and down.
They didn't hear it.
Saying, you didn't give him to us. Look at the tape.
Yeah.
McCarthy didn't budge.
No.
McCarthy looked at it like,
shucks.
Me, look at that play they just ran. Nobody, unless there's an angle I haven't seen from the Dallas Cowboys, went running to Brad Allen and saying, you never told us 68 was eligible. I never saw that.
No.
Which gives you an indication in my mind of how hard it is to hear on the field with that crowd at full throat when he said that. And this has nothing to do with him misunderstanding Taylor Decker or misunderstanding Dan Skipper or anything like that. We're just talking at this moment about the announcement to the crowd. Our sideline guy didn't hear it. I don't know if the Lions heard it. I don't think based on their reaction the Dallas Cowboys heard it. And granted, listen, guys, I do know it was broadcast into the stadium. And I do know he did say that, even if he got it wrong. I do know he said it. So I just don't know if the guys on the field heard it because of everything that was going on there. So, I mean, as far as that part of it is concerned, that part of it's kind of murky to me because I just don't know what they hear down there because their reaction did not scream that they had heard him say somebody else.
And the flag was late,
to
too.
Terry's point, at that point, I'm not sure. If you didn't hear it, I don't know what you do. If you did hear it, I don't know what you do. You don't have any timeouts. You would have to take the penalty.
Right.
And that's really the last thing you want to do at that point. So it's,
I get it.
Well, Dan, what I try to do, I try to take young guys like Maz into my bosom and try to educate them. I'm telling them, I bet you nobody on the field heard it. But he's like, oh, no, you had to hear it. No, you didn't have to hear it. No. I'm betting nobody heard it on the field.
No, again, look at the reaction of the Cowboys. If look at the reaction of Mike McCarthy. The TV takes a shot of him right after the play. He's not running to the official and saying, hey,
Dan,
you told us 70 was eligible.
Now I gotta help you out now. Mike McCarthy is brain dead. So he probably wouldn't have known anything anyway. That doesn't count.
Well, I just think any coach given the information we're talking about and the ultimate outcome, or not the ultimate outcome, the outcome of the play would be like, there's no way 68 can be eligible if you told us 70 was.
Hey, last thing, Dan, I know you got to go. In hindsight now, after that play, I just lost my train of thought.
What he was going to ask you, in hindsight, should they gone for 1 point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would have kicked the ball after the 5-yard penalty. I intimated that on the broadcast. And I just think if you look at a 4th and 7, it's difficult to convert. And that's ultimately what it is, so 4th and 7.
What do you think of the NFL putting that video out today?
And also, let me take that a step further. It is also difficult in the condensed red zone. You don't have as much room.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, look, given clarity, that probably is what I would have done. And we're also, we have something of the benefit of hindsight here. So, look, I just think 7 yards is a big ask. But that was his mindset, that he trusts his offense and wants to see his guys win that game. So, look, you can go back and forth all day on some of Dan Campbell's calls and things that have happened. And look, if the fake punt in the, in the Kansas City's end doesn't work, your own end doesn't work against the Chiefs, he's getting barbecued for that. It did work, and they ended up scoring. So, man, there's a million things that you can go back on and get used to it, because that's who he is.
Yeah, I like it.
And that's how this is going to go.
Yeah.
How about the NFL propaganda video today?
Listen,
Maybe Dan hasn't seen it.
You could tell Terry knows how this works because he lived in that world. They start getting their guys out there to put their side of the story out. Look, here's where I stand. You had the officials that had it explained to them before the game by Dan Campbell, exactly what they were going to do and when they were going to do it. And then Brad Allen had a question and approached Dan Campbell in the pregame show, and Dan Campbell explained to him what they were going to do. And then Brad Allen comes out and says that Dan Skipper had reported a couple times. Dan Skipper reported one time in the first quarter of that game. There was no other times that he reported until that moment when he assumed, you know what happens, when he assumed that he had reported again. So if you explain something to somebody and then explain again to somebody, and Taylor Decker's an 8-year veteran, I don't think he went over there and asked Brad Allen how his kids are doing.
Nope.
I don't know what else you can do at that point. So I feel like the Lions did everything right. Was there a little bit of, we're trying to fool you going on?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but if only one guy speaks and he's 6'8", 350 pounds, chances are you're probably going to hear him. So
yeah.
But he never looked at Taylor Decker. He was looking at Skipper the whole way, who wasn't even close to them.
I don't disagree with you trying to read the long view of the video, but if a 6'8" man is standing in front of me, I'm usually going to listen to what he has to say, because Taylor Decker's done this before. Taylor Decker has been a eligible receiver before. He knows what reporting is all about.
Thanks, Dan. I have a great game on Sunday. We'll be listening. Lomas Brown and Dan Miller on the Lions radio network. Go Lions, man. Thanks, Dan.